There you are. You were about to get in big trouble.
Send out the police.
Let me tell her to go find that gal.
Okay.
And she's out.
Well,
Yeah,
that's all right.
looking
I'm
forward
not
to
going.
it.
How are you?
Remember me, Norman Natchitoches?
Yeah, in fact, we were in Alexandria and your name came up, or Vanessa's name came up. And I said, I remember you.
I remember
How's
you too.
everything going?
It's going very well.
Good.
I'll never forget when we were doing that city fire station.
I meant to text you and say disregard.
Jimmy said, when he walked away, I thought, okay, what's the lights? I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna tell you something I didn't tell you. This guy Hagan, we'll sit down. I won't get him.
Good to see you, Norman.
Good to see you.
Okay. Ready to rock and roll?
Yeah, we're ready.
All right. Where's Dr. Barron? Here he
He's
is.
over there.
We'll call the meeting to order and welcome everyone. If you have not already done so, would you please sign in so that we know you were here? That makes a difference. Roman numeral number 2, minutes from the March 7th meeting. Those were available online. Are there any additions or corrections, Commissioners?
I move to approve the minutes.
Mr. Donahoe has moved to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Dr. Owens has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Old business, A 110104, Dr. Benny Barron is going to give us an update on the Rock House project and also your new project. And the Rock House project has been approved. Oh. I don't like this thing. The Rock House project, that has been approved by the commission. This is for informational purposes only, what he's going to present and show us tonight, and give everybody an idea of what the foundation is looking at in terms of additional properties being developed on that lot. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, all right.
Just push his button.
No, it's on. Are you on?
I don't know. Am I?
You are on.
There you go.
I'm waiting for somebody else to tell me, make it short.
Oh, yes.
This is my
That was
fourth.
the deal.
this is
Make
a-
it short.
Thank you, Virginia. This is the fourth time the Rock House has been on your agenda, and each time I've been here, they said, before you start, Barron, make it short because we know you. Well, I'm going to try. What I want to do is give you an update and talk about the display in front of you. The display in front of you was part of the paperwork we submitted on the 25th. It's all in there. So this is in that presentation earlier. But the main thing tonight is to enlarge on what all the words said in that paperwork and to give you a picture of it and hopefully to get you enthused with what we're doing. But let me give you an update to where we are now. Back in October 22nd or so, we submitted the paperwork on the Rock House project. And we keep saying Rock House project, but remember, it's also the rest of the riverbank. We started out just going to restore the Rock House, right where it is. And pretty soon, it became a support building. And pretty soon, we enlarged it. So the project now is at $2 million, and we're completing the rest of the riverbank down there. All the plans have been drawn. They've all been turned in. Also, it has a gigantic pile of them over here already. We submitted all these plans to a company that we could select, which was Tudor. And Tudor went through all the plans. We spent, right at 4 months from October through about the first week or so in February. And we realized that we were not going to reach a spot where we wanted with our discussions. To get to the place that they were suggesting, we would have had to change our plans, change the design for the sport building, not do the rest of the riverbank, and 2 or 3 other things, and move the building with the roof on it in place, which I don't think is doable, and things like that. So we decided to look at another company. About that time, in the newspaper, was DSW doing groundbreaking for the train depot over here. I looked at it and said, whoa, if they could get all the boxes checked for restoring that building, it'd be the same boxes we need to get checked to restore the Rock House. So I got in touch with David Maines and George Gaharan, and had them look over the figures, look over the plans. That was the original set of plans we'd given Tudor, which complete the riverbank and all the things we wanted. So about 4 weeks ago, they gave us their numbers, and their numbers fit. Their numbers fit. They have all the expertise we need. The biggest question we had is bousillage. Do you have anybody that can spell and say the word bousillage? And they said yes. Their superintendent for the project, George, has actually worked on a bousillage wall. He's certified to do it. He's working through the people down the river here to make sure that we're doing it right. And we'll probably invite a consultant named Eddie Gazaru out of Baton Rouge, and about the leading expert of the state. And the reason I'm explaining the bousillage to you, by adopting the 8-foot overhang all the way around, all the outside walls are protected from the weather. And he's the one who advised us to go to 8 feet. With 8 feet, we do not have to cover those walls. He said, you'll probably be the only building in Louisiana that has every wall in the building bousillage, interior and exterior. So that's about where we are now. We got with DSW and their people. They checked with their subs. We signed a contract Friday, April the 22nd, which was just a few days ago. We've set groundbreaking for Thursday, May the 12th at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and of course you're all invited. Now, we're being real careful not to have a lot of people give speeches, just very short speeches, and say, here's what we're about to do, and invite everybody to walk to the Rock House and take a look at it. So that's where we are right now. We have plans now that already have been signed that we're going to do the Rock House restoration and the rest of the bank just the way we designed them. We've cut nothing or we shortened nothing about the project. Now, as part of that project, that we had the idea all along to worry about what happens when we finish. In February of 2020, we had a big meeting down here at the fort. We must have had about 45 people at that meeting, representatives from almost every preservation, restoration group in Natchitoches. Got a whole long list of them. Attended the meeting, and the meeting was over. We took all the minutes of the meeting, typed them all up, and read them. About 90% of that meeting addressed 2 topics, not the design, not what we were doing, but they test, number one, nationwide, almost every little city has a building a lot like our Rock House, and they're all chasing grant money everywhere. But the big thing that's happening, according to the people, Dusty Fuquay and all of his other people, is buildings like the Rock House, they're getting restored, and after a year or two, they're shutting down. They're shutting down everywhere. They're not open anymore. And the problem is, he said, when people restore them, they forget or do not know to address a money stream to both take care of the building and operate it. In August of 2019, when NHF and some of us met, and they asked me would I be chairman of the steering committee. I said, on one condition, I do not want to spend 3 years, a couple of $1 million, restore the Rock House, and it's beautiful, and we padlock it. We lock the front door. People, the Rock House is not big enough to rent. You can get no rental income except as an adjacent to Beaujardin for weddings. So the city will rent it from us so that the court for the wedding will have a place to change clothes and a restroom. But that's not near enough to take care of the Rock House. Somebody said, well, you can get volunteers to open it. I don't know about you all, but for the last 2 or 3 years in HF, we have struggled to get volunteers to do anything. I think we used up the pool of people who would volunteer is what's happened, because a lot of people are doing it. Okay, so we had to come up with some way to do 2 things. Number one, to make sure the Rock House, when we finish with it, it's going to be a beautiful work of art. We're going to all love it. Is keep it like that, because air conditioners are going to need repairing. You're going to have roof leaks, et cetera, because it's the nature of buildings and the age. If nothing else, we're going to have to replace the floor occasionally because I hope traffic on it weakens the floor. So all these things are taken into consideration. So we need a money stream. Number 2, we need to be able to operate the Rock House. I want to open it all day Saturday and Sunday afternoon to start with. I don't know if you realize it yet, but I'm being sarcastic now, but we had a big meeting in town about tourism, which is great. Natchitoches makes piles of money and I hope to make more. I predict that Rock House is going to be almost the picture of Natchitoches on billboards, because we do it some now with it looking like it is now. We're going to have people, I think, coming to Natchitoches to see it. Okay, I want to open the Rock House. I want to have it open. I want to have guides down there that are employed and trained to tell people what's down there. So I've come up with the idea of having a wall, the Rock House wall. And you see the model in front of you. That wall has two purposes. Number one, we want to honor the preservationists in Natchitoches. The wall, number one, honors all preservation in Natchitoches, past and present. I was kidding with John a while ago. I said, do you think Emerson Pratt Willard's name is be on that wall? He said, who? He said, you got to remember. I said, well, the point is, we got names everywhere that we're losing them, that they're dropping out. Maxine Sutherland, should her name be on the wall? You bet. Mildred Hart Bailey. And I can just keep going on and on. Well, you people, you're preservationists, or you wouldn't be on this committee down here, this commission, that you believe in preservation. Boy, you're the people we're talking about. We don't want your name to be dropped. So we had the idea on this wall that we would have granite. Now, I'll talk about the construction of it in just a moment. But we use granite as a sample granite on the table you take a look at, and sandblast people's names into that wall. Where do we get that idea? It's a place called the Vietnam Memorial in Washington. It's one of the most visited memorials up there. What do they see? Names on the wall. Here about 8 or 9 years ago, Campbell Monuments built a wall similar to this over in Leesville on the lot next to the courthouse. I don't know if you've been there. It's now full of granite, full of names. The names are supposed to be people who were at Fort Polk and served in World War II. They started out with a certain number of names, and then when people saw their names on the wall, they came flooding in. Every year they go over and sandblast new names on it. Preservationists and Natchitoches, people, we're a living history. We're full of preservationists. We have groups, couples, individuals, organizations. All their names will go on the wall, and each name on the wall will generate $150. Now, I've had about 4 or 5 people study it and tell me, you're way too cheap. You are charging about $500. I said, no, you missed the point. Rock House is the house that belongs to Natchitoches. All of us, all of us. Let's don't make it only for the rich people. If we got some rich people, we'll take their donations, give them a plaque somewhere. But on this wall, at $150, that's a couple trips to move it and 2 dinners out, and you've got your $150. So that a lot of people can afford to put their name on the wall. I had some fellow tell me the other day, he said, well, I've got a granddaughter, and I believe in preservation. Can I put my granddaughter's name on the wall? I said, sure can. Give me $150. She's there. And she will be there forever because it'll be sandblasted into the wall. Second point here about preservation, the first point. Second point is to generate the income from the wall. There are 16 granite slabs you see in front of you, all the gray ones. They'll generate about 4,500 names at $150 each. Will produce what we hope is $675,000. Now, what we want to do is invest that. It's not a part of the construction of Rock House. Let's invest it. So it throws off about $45,000 a year. That gives us, number one, the money to operate the Rock House, to get it open, to hire guides that'll be there, to maintain it, take care of it, and make sure it stays in great shape from now on. It's not going to wear out, and we're going to take care of it. The second thing it'll do is it'll give us enough money to invest in another preservation project. And we got one in mind. And I don't know if I should mention it or not, John, but I will anyway. The courthouse. That's a great spot. But we'll have enough extra money to go into another project.
You're talking about the old courthouse.
Now, we don't know what we're going to do with it, but the point is it'll give us enough income here to take care of the Rock House and do other preservation projects in town. So that's what we have in mind. Now, let me talk about the construction, how it's going to be constructed. What you see in front of you is a model of the wall.
And if those of you in the audience, if you'd like to come around and look while Dr. Barron is finishing, please feel free to.
Some of us took our time to see it early on.
Yeah, I knew guys.
Before the meeting.
I knew he'd say that. I'll punish him later, Sharon. Don't worry about it. I'll get to it.
Townsend too, please.
The construction of the wall is a big question that I think the group needs to address. How you gonna build it? What's gonna be built out? Where you gonna place it? Okay, the retaining wall that you see up here in brown, that's gonna be there regardless of what we do about the granite. We must have the retaining wall. The plans now will be to go into the rock house and jack it up, move it about 60 feet south, turn it and back it about 60 feet back against the hill that runs between Front Street and where the rock house is now. We need to get it away from the water. The Corps of Engineers said we need to be up 11 feet. We have a waiver on that because we can't put it 11 feet in the air. But we need to get it about 7 feet above the water. If we can move it back and come up 2 feet above that and feather out the dirt, we can get 7.5 feet above the water. So that's why we're moving it. Now, we're going to move it back to a spot where you have to protect it from that hill. Water comes off that hill and could wash everything out. So we have to build a retaining wall. So I came up with the idea, let's just put a new face on the retaining wall. It's going to be there anyway. We have to have it. It's already in all the plans. But we're going to put granite slabs on the front of that retaining wall. It's on those slabs is where we put the names. Now, the retaining wall is behind the rock house, not in front of it. We don't want anything in front of it. It's behind it. And when you get a chance to study the pictures, and I'll go in a minute and point a few things out to you so you can see what the retaining wall and what the granite wall would look like. Also on the table is a sample of the granite we'll be using. Now, the granite we'll use is what they call domestic granite that you can get guaranteed. If you order international granite, if you can get it now, they won't guarantee it. So if it cracks, it's your problem. Well, we'll buy this from, if it cracks, they replace the whole wall. Now, we'll start out. Can we fill all the wall right now? Probably not. But what we can fill, we'll go ahead and put into our investment package, and the granite will be up there, and we can keep adding names to it. We add names to it. Now, the names we'll put on there will be activists, preservationists, people who support preservation, people who want to be a part of the rock house restoration specifically. And the fourth group is they want to be a part of history. Now, what I mean by history, I've spent about 40 hours on the internet trying to find a house just like this one, and I can't. Understand that the Natchitoches Historic Foundation is working on a French Creole house with all the French Creole architectural points touched on this house that we have, that was built, designed and built by a person in 1803, Yves Pical. And Yves Pical was not a slave. This was not on a plantation. This was not built by a plantation. This house was built by a freed man of color. Do I know he built the house? Yes. I have all the evidence by a researcher out of Tennessee. He built a house on land he bought. The first thing he did after the house was built, he went back and bought his wife's freedom, and she lived in the house with him. She passed away. He bought somebody else's freedom that became his wife, and a couple of years later, he bought his daughter's freedom to live in the house. That's the story of the rock house. It was built by a freed man of color, and he built it. I wonder, and I have no idea what he thought. I have nothing to show it. But he got his freedom in 1801, because at that time you could buy your own freedom because Louisiana was under French rule. In 1803, you could not, because it shifted to the United States rule. Bought his freedom, and he was a carpenter. In 1801, if you were a carpenter, you could have gone lots of places and made lots of money. He could have gone to New Orleans, gone to Houston. Dallas was young. He had gone to Natchez, lots of places. He stayed right here, 22 miles south is where the house was built originally. Built his house, bought his wife's freedom, moved into it, bought his daughter's freedom, and moved into the house. And that's the story of the rock house. Now, the pictures up here, I'm going to move over here so I can point to things for you all. This is the shape of the wall here. This is exactly the scale. When you look at it, this is a bird's eye view. So you're going to get up top and see exactly where the wall is. See right here behind it. This is the rock house.
And what is the surface
What, right here? Probably,
that it's attached to?
what the rock, deep granite,
Mm-hmm.
it would be tacked to brick, to be the retaining wall right here. All these would be granite stacked, they would just be attached to the brick. If we don't do the granite and sell the spaces, this would just be brick. The retaining wall would be there. We have no choice in it. this, to wind up the Rock House, it's a support building. Remember, we had a support building to make sure all the modern electrical stuff, you know, the internet, we had it all in there, all the electrical panels, so we put nothing in the Rock House. I don't want anything in it. In fact, somebody said, well, I got a lot of antiques you get me. I said, well, it's an 1803 antique that came from this kind of house. We'll take it. I already contacted somebody. We'll furnish the house with furniture that you put it in 1803. Now, what we want to do is when all this works, we got people coming to the Rock House. I want to copy the World War II Museum in New Orleans, and I'm sure you've been there. Go to a certain spot, they'll have a 5-minute little snippet or video telling you about this battle. Well, I talked to Vicki Parrish, she's going to write a script, we'll get actors. We're going to have a video that we walk in the Rock House. The first thing you see is this video telling you about the Rock House. And it'll play over and over. And we'll let people go through it, go through the Rock House, come out the other side. So that's how we hope to work. Over here is what the Rock House is going to look like. If you're wondering how much this wall, if there is a vision of the Rock House, look, see right back at here, see my finger? This is the wall behind it. So you see it tucked way back behind the house. It's tucked over here behind the house. So really to see the wall, you have to go behind the house. So you can see what I'm talking about right here. Now over here, and this is what we submitted earlier to the package for the original back in 27. This plot was in there. This plot shows the Rock House, the walls right here. This red is the wall. This is where it is. You got the Rock House in front of it, support building in front of it. And over at this end, we're building stairs come down the Beaujard end. So they're almost come right straight into the support building. So this is the layout to it. Getting up here is a sample of the granite. We have right here. I already talked to Campbell and them. They're excited. They said the first thing's going to happen if we do this. Experience is going to take from a national magazine. They've already talked about what they're going to do with the wall. Because it's very, very unique. They're saying your choice $500 a name. No, I want to stay with for $150. So we have a lot of people in town put their names on the wall. They're all preservations. So that's it. I talk fast here, but I'll shut up right now. Please ask you questions. And let me answer your questions for you. Go through it.
You've done a wonderful job.
It looks great.
of
Looks great,
presenting.
I
It
think.
does.
And again, Commissioners, this is not an application as far as having to take a vote tonight. We'll have you back with.
Thank you for
the
keeping us
formal-
informed.
Yes, the
And up to
formal
date.
application.
I think the first time I talked to you, I didn't know that this is an adversarial group we have to go through. My viewpoint again still is down routine.
Sure.
A couple of things ago, people, as we're doing this, if we see something we need to dig a little bit, we can dig a little bit. Let's get that thing right and do it. Let's make sure we're all happy with it. And so it's not such we all get excited about. Not just, well, ideally, I want you all to lead and help us with this. Go back and talk to everybody. I told John back there, I'll take this plate at any group of Natchitoches you go with them. Because we want people all across Natchitoches to be a part of this. Here, really be a part of it.
They've taken the appropriate steps to preserve the oaks that are down there. They're not going to be any,
Yes.
okay.
The appropriate steps will be taken to preserve the
Now,
oaks.
we have George, talked to him again yesterday. Everything he touches down there about trees, Hamilton by now.
Yeah.
He's got Hamilton's phone number, he knows Hamilton. For
Oh.
example, we got some limbs off the top of that rock house and start taking the roof off. I said, don't you touch me. One day he looked and I said, you probably haven't really let him touch something.
And that will, since you told me that the roof will be removed and the house will be removed after the roof itself is removed, so.
Well, they kept saying, move the roof on it. I got in there and climbed up in it. That is all shingle on ribs, not shingle on solid like we do on roofs now. This is shingle on ribs. They were nailed 52, 53 years ago. Don't you know those nails are about 25% of the shingles are all damaged.
Yeah.
And right now we're trying to find shingles to replace all of them. And the chimney has to come out. You can't do the chimney. We don't know how deep it goes in the ground. And the reason I'm taking a moment to do those, come by our moment, is I want everybody, I'll go back to city council and talk to everybody, to be all be a part of it. We can all be a part of this project. We put our names on it. For man, others who all put their names on it. When we finish, we'll all be a part of it.
Well, thank you for your
Thank you.
dedication, your perseverance, because I
Your
know what
investment of
has gone
time.
on, yes, over the past few months. Lots and lots of hours have been put in, so we thank you very much.
Looks great.
Chair, I don't know what else you'd like me to submit to be approved. But what we submitted earlier, I have over here, and this is on, was it labeled what it is? So there's a part there, so I don't know what the process is, it's over there part.
Okay. And will, if you will apply as far as a final application for this, you could do that next month easily. You don't have to bring back the whole display.
Well, I'll take my directions over here. I'll get it done.
From Chantrell, yeah, she'll help you with it.
Because I've been out here also,
Oh, I
whatever
know.
she needs us to get to you all, for me to get to you all next month. I don't know what we add to it, but whatever we need to add to it, we will.
And, well, you'll have a formal application,
Yeah.
so, and Chantrell will work on that.
Okay.
Thank you, bravo,
Yeah.
bravo.
I'm sorry for going too long.
Oh, no, I think you did very well. If any of you want to come see this, he said he was going to leave it up for the duration of the meeting, so, thank you, Dr. Barron.
It has nothing to do with anything, except this tells you the purpose of the wall is, and generally I would do it just so you know. That's all.
Well, and that can be attached to your application, and that can be attached to your application for next time, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like I said, I give a short answer, whatever she tells me to do, I will.
good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very,
Good
very
job.
much. All right, is there any other old business to come before the commission? Chantrell, Ms. Rock, is that?
No, not at this moment.
All right, thank you. Let's move into old business, Roman numeral 3. Benny, we've already taken care of you, I'm sorry. Roman numeral 4, new business. The first one, 050201, Baldridge Communications. That was for minor repair on the rear of the building and the addition of siding. Is there a motion to ratify?
I just had a question about it. Is it, are they putting that siding on,
It's on the west side where that, if you look in your packet, there's you'll see where it had deteriorated completely.
yeah, I
So
saw it.
trying to put plaster was just not a
Yeah.
practical choice.
But they're not doing the other sides of it?
It's
Just that one area.
that west side.
Yeah, I moved to ratify.
Is there a second to ratify?
I move.
Dr.
I second.
Crosno has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? 050202, the parish of Natchitoches, 200 Church Street, tree removal.
Good evening. A lot of folks don't even realize that we've got some gorgeous stonework on the front of the parish courthouse. There's two big Natchitoches Indians up there, along with some wording that talks about the year that the courthouse was erected. Most people don't even know it's there. You can't see it because of the two big magnolia trees that are in front. Whenever I was elected, I said, man, those trees sure are close to the courthouse, and they've got to be causing some problems in the lower level in the basement with roots. And they're obviously causing some problems with the stonework because we're having to replace some of that now, where they're hitting the building, scraping the building. Several years back, they trimmed them up. It's just not going to look good if we try to trim those trees. They're just too big. They're going to look foolish with all the limbs taken off the back of it so that we can maintain a safe distance between them and the building. So what I'm proposing is that we remove those trees in total and replace them with some more ornamental trees. We're working with Tim Murchison to get some ideas on what will function well there, not grow so tall, excuse me, not grow so tall that it'll inhibit folks getting in or the view of the Indians and the other stonework. So I'm here tonight really to let you know of those plans and to ask if there's any input you would have or guidance you would have on that.
They're both magnolias that you want to remove?
They're both magnolias. They're both the big wild magnolias that were planted at some point. Gosh, I don't know. The building's been there since '39.
I did go and take a look at the way that those trees are really going to damage even more that, the frontage of the house, the facade of it, of the courthouse.
Yeah.
And it's not good.
Since you and I talked, we have opened up the front of the courthouse behind some of the stonework because we had some minor chipping and cracking. And I've done enough of that in the past and done restoration on stone facades that we just decided it would be best to go in and do some investigation. And what we saw was that front part of the building has had a great deal of scraping and water intrusion due in large part to those trees. And the steel was totally rusted. So what we had to do was we had to replace a fair amount of steel. We had some good contractors and some good work went on so that we could minimize that cost. But we just don't need to be doing that every few years. It was really a danger to the public. We dodged a bullet, honestly. We had a piece of stone about the size of maybe a softball that fell out. That, of course, is worrisome in and of itself, but whenever we took that stone facade off and went behind it, there was one small piece of steel remaining that was about a 1/4 inch thick, and it wasn't holding anything up anymore. You could literally reach and take the beam and just rip hunks of it off. It was rusted all the way through. And so the only thing that was holding that stone structure up was the friction and the gravity holding those friction forces together. There was no structural support to hold up the front. A decent thunderstorm, a decent slam of the front doors, we could have lost 3,000 to 5,000 pounds of stone on top of the front entrance and the people coming up the steps. I'm thankful that that didn't happen. We have an opportunity to now not only fix the front, clean the front, but allow it to look like what it should be, a great courthouse and a great parish.
Any other questions or concerns?
No, I'm not quite sure we have to approve a tree removal, but to the extent that we do, I'd move to approve the application.
Mr. Donahoe has moved to approve the application. Is there a second?
Second.
Dr. Owens has seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yeah.
Any
Aye.
opposition? I think the discussion too, just to clarify, when Mr. Richmond contacted me about this, had I not gone by and really seen the damage that can be caused and that is being caused, we can do something about that. So that was the rationale, Mr. Donahoe.
Oh, no, I'm glad when people bring it to us. I'd much rather people ask than not.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Richmond.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. '05, '02, '03, Boswell Enterprises, Stella's, that's for signage. Is someone here representing Boswell Enterprises? Ms. Rock? Okay, all right. Please let the minutes show that there was not a representative here to present the application. '05, '02, '04, Mr. Walter Durr, 400 Church Street, leveling and minor repair. Is Mr. Durr here?
He is not, and that's surprising. This
Pardon?
is you, Mr. Dar.
Uh-huh.
It's surprising that he is not here, so
Dar,
we'll
I'm
find out
sorry.
what's going on.
Okay, we let the minutes show that Mr. Dar was not here. '05, '02, '05, Ryan Foster, The Good House, 314 Poet Street. That was for a fence. No one's here to represent him? All right. '05, '02, '06, The Flying Heart Brewing Company, and Mr. Benjamin Hart is here to present his application for signage. And Commissioners, if you look in your packets, you'll see what is being proposed, and we're delighted you're here. We're delighted you're going to be working on the old brewery. So you want to tell us a little bit about what you're doing, and as you do that, tell us a little bit about your future plans and what you would like to do, and perhaps your interest in historic structures. You told me about that also.
Benjamin Hart, Flying Heart Brewing and Pub. We'll be changing the sign in the front, keep the exact same aesthetics, the same look, just replacing Cane River Brewing with Flying Heart Brewing and Pub. That's the main changes on the outside of the building. Pretty much everything else is going to stay exactly the same. This will be our third location. We've got our original location in Bossier City and a new location in West Monroe. So our plans are to open up, we'll be open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner, hopefully by the second week of June.
When you say you're shifting the lighting, can you walk me through exactly what y'all are doing on changing the lighting?
So keeping the letter size the same height, which I believe is 36 inches, we'll have to go a little bit wider to add the entire name. So it'll replicate the lighting that already exists, but we'll probably be adding one light on each end.
All right, and they're not gonna be, it's still gonna be pointed towards the lettering, just to illuminate the lettering?
Correct.
Okay. I know there were some concerns about people living across the river and, you know,
No,
trying to minimize
it'll be a
the light
downlight casting
exposure.
onto the letters.
And it's the same material as the previous lettering?
Correct.
I move to approve the application.
Mr. Donahoe has moved to approve the application as presented. Any other, is there a second?
Second.
Dr. Owens has seconded. Any other comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposition. I have one question pertaining to your plans as far as parking, other lighting, any landscaping, and then that dangerous area
Curve.
when you're curve, where you're trying to pull in or pull out.
Sure. I don't, currently, my understanding is we don't have a lot of say on that portion of it because that's still controlled by the city for the public works. My understanding, we did meet with the mayor and some of the people from Public Works, and there is a discussion about moving the fence to some extent to allow a better view for people exiting. I believe there's some other long-term plans as well. I believe Public Works is looking for a new location. We've also been working with them about the parking situation. Since we'll be open at lunchtime, we don't want to interfere with any of their existing
Sure.
work. So long-term, additional things, we do plan to do a beer garden, which it would be, if you're facing the front of the building, would be on the right-hand side, similar to where they already have a stage and some lighting out there already. So that would be something down the road that we'd like to do, but currently don't have those plans.
Well, as you do, please return, and
Absolutely.
that is such an awful, awful curve. I think that's what you should do first.
Well, like I said, that's Public Works, so that they have the fence up to protect their equipment and all of their things, so they lock it at night. We're in the process of getting a new lock and a key for us as well, since we'll be there after they're long gone. So
Well, thank you.
if we have the opportunity to do it, we'd love to.
Please do. And I see Mr. Lacasse came in, so maybe you can push Public Works to do something about that.
We are already working on them moving. I'm gonna say 90, 120 days is my opinion.
Great.
Good, okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Hart.
Thank you.
And I love the name.
Thank you.
050208, T. Taylor Townsend Properties.
I think you should give Brett,
Just get
Oh,
Brett.
Mr. Garfinkel. Mr.
yeah.
Mr. Townsend,
False
you're
start.
going to have to wait, I'm sorry. That wasn't very nice, was it, Mr. Garfinkel? I'm sorry.
It's all right, I won't take it personally.
This is for 314 Nelkin. It is a contributing structure in the district, which I assume you knew that, right? You want to tell us what you're doing, please?
So I'd like to put a privacy fence on the sides of the house. Since I have a dog, I'd like the dog to stay in the backyard when I let him out. I'm replicating this style of my neighbor's yard. It will be all wood, not painted, just treated.
Height? 6, I see it.
5'7".
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so it'll be almost, it'll have the same caps and everything like that? Looks great. I move to approve it.
Mr. Donahoe has moved to approve the application as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Dr. Owens has seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposition? Okay.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garfinkel. All right, T. Taylor Townsend. And you are doing what?
Good afternoon, or good evening, Madam Chair and members. So this is to seek your approval so that I can repaint that building on 725 3rd Street, do a little renovative work. I've attached the paint colors. If you've driven by that building, you can see that the windows are in terrible disrepair. I've ordered those windows in hopes that they'll get here in the next 2 years.
Good luck.
And I've set forth all the specs for those windows as well. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
And tell us are you doing anything to the facade, Mr. Townsend?
No, ma'am. I'm going to clean it and paint it.
Yeah. Okay, but as far as any architectural elements being included in the restoration process, no?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Well, I'm so glad you purchased that.
I'm glad that you're glad. Hope I'm going to be glad too.
I think she was being like, she's glad you did it, and she did.
Yeah, exactly.
I would move to approve the application.
Mr. Donahoe has moved to approve the application as presented. Any further discussion? Oh, is there a second?
Second.
Dr. Owens is seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Yeah, that would look nice with a balcony on it, or,
I'll get back with you.
okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Is there any other new business to come before the commission? Ms.
Yes,
Robb?
ma'am. We have Mr. Richmond with the Maglios on.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
We have Mr. Richmond with Maglios on the cane.
Right, he's down under other new business, okay.
Okay.
All right. 050209, Mr. Richmond, Maglio's on the cane. And this is for host stand.
Yeah, this is one of those things that I really do enjoy bringing this to you. During COVID, whenever they allowed anything beyond being closed to happen, and we could actually do curbside delivery and service to delivery for people out in the parish, we put an outdoor host stand out there, thinking that maybe it would last us 3 or 4 months and that surely we'd be able to go back to doing the things we did. Well, then they opened up and they said you could have people inside your restaurant, but you couldn't allow people to congregate in an area waiting on a table. Well, it's always been an awkward entry into our restaurant, coming from the side and not from what obviously used to be the front door. And so people always got confused, and we found that we liked having the host stand outside. And you guys have been tolerant, and nobody's thrown a fit over the last 2 years and said, get that old ugly tent out of there, but it's time for it to go. Front Street deserves better than that. And so what you have in front of you are some renderings that are of a pre-made structure that we can buy. We can have it delivered. It's all cedar with a metal roof that matches the roof line of the restaurant, and we'll put it out there. I think it'll absolutely complement the restaurant, but more importantly, it'll complement the Main Street building. You know, we're down there where the public restrooms are. They have the same roof line. And so this will just provide a more welcoming and substantial coverage area. It's no wider than what we have now, but it is 4 foot deeper.
Where will it go exactly?
It'll go exactly where the white tent is now.
Okay, where the entrance is on the
Yes.
south side of the
Yeah,
building.
we're not changing the location of the entrance or the location of the hostess stand. We're just going to replace the white tent with this structure.
Okay.
And I am glad to see the white tent go. I hope you approve it.
We'll have a ceremony. Okay, any questions, commissioners? Dr. Crosno?
Do you have handicap parking on that side of the building? Or
We
is
do.
it-
And this was actually sitting atop, right on top of our one handicap spot. So whenever I restriped the parking lot 2 weeks ago, we moved the handicap spot down just a little bit where it's still the closest parking spot to the entrance. But it's defined and now it's handicapped.
Okay. Dr. Owens, Mr. Donahoe, any questions?
Are you gonna lose any parking because of this?
No, no. The outside parking structure will be exactly the same as it is now. The outdoor seating will be, everything will be exactly the same. Nothing changes logistically at all.
What about lighting inside of it?
There will be light. What we're going to do is I'm going to do the same cafe-style lighting that we have over our patio. I'm going to have that in this structure also.
Okay. All right, the chair will entertain a motion.
I move to approve.
Mr. Donahoe has moved to approve the application as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Dr. Owens has seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition?
All right, meet me at Maglio's.
Okay. That out of the way. Second.
Can I raise what Scooter called me about? Now, would that be appropriate? No?
Sure, but we'll need to do it under other
Add to.
new business. We'll have to add it to it, so the chair will call for a motion to amend the other new business to include your conversation with DOTD. Is there a motion?
I so move. Yeah.
Mr. Donahoe has moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Dr. Owens has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
You may proceed.
Scooter Payro contacted me. As y'all are aware, he owns the Edward Jones building there on Williams Avenue near the Kaiser Street Bridge. He is selling the lot in between his office and the bridge. DOTD is trying to figure out where to cut a driveway on Williams Avenue. And I guess because of the proximity to the intersection, their initial response was they didn't want to cut a new driveway there, and what they had proposed was that the person would come in on Scooter's driveway on Williams, and then there would be a new driveway after you entered the property there to the left. The problem with that is that the creation of that would severely damage, if not destroy, the live oak that sits there at the corner. Scooter explained this to DOTD, that he says, I don't think that the historic district is going to approve a driveway that results in the damage or destruction of that pretty oak, especially in light of the city ordinance that prohibits the cutting down of live oaks. DOTD indicated to him that if he could produce a letter from us to Scooter saying we would not approve any application to create a driveway that would result in the damage or destruction of that live oak, at that point DOTD would then cut a driveway there at the lot and not interfere with the live oak. So if it's okay with everybody, I can draft the letter for y'all to sign. I can circulate it, and once everybody's approved it, then I guess you can sign off on it, and I can get it to Scooter, if that sounds agreeable.
Yeah. Is that agreeable with you, Dr.
I think it's just basically citing the ordinance that's already in place.
That's
It's
what I
a
was
city
gonna do.
ordinance.
Yeah,
It's a
that's what I was
city
gonna do.
ordinance.
So really it wouldn't require a vote of the council, it would just be a
Right,
notification.
enforcing
Yeah, that's the way I was gonna draft it.
You would have to
Well,
abide by the ordinance.
Well, I will appoint you to that, and you,
I'll fix it
You
up
may-
and I'll
you may take care
circulate
of
it to
it.
everybody.
and then if we have any issues with DOTD, we'll take care of that. Okay?
All right, thank y'all so
Thank
much.
Any other business? Mr. Lacaz, is there anything?
Can I address commission for 1 minute?
You may.
Make it all official. I want you to know, at the last minute in our fiscal year ending May 31st, I was able to move funds around to the extent I'm fixing to renovate our building at 424th Street. I'm talking about new front porch, all rotten woodwork, completely painted, making it look, needing this for the last 6 or 8 years. I visited with Chantrell, but I haven't made application, and that's, if anything, my fault. I downloaded the application, got sidetracked on a lot of other stuff. Tomorrow, I'll get a draw against the requisition, so the gentleman doing the work can buy materials and commence. I have to finish by May 31st. Be happy to make the application. I know it's late in the game after the fact, but I just wanted the commission to understand if you rode by afterward, it would look just like it will look today. I don't intend to change paint colors, just repair everything. The whole front porch pretty well's got to be taken off and rebuilt. And I thought I should at least say something to y'all in advance if we start before, say, the meeting in June when you may ratify a formal application.
Well, you have to get a building permit to do the work. So you can't start before.
Yeah, the only thing is the city doesn't pay for building permits. Pretty well automatic. They can issue me one. Okay?
What structure are you talking about?
My office at 424th Street,
Which
the
is a
old
historic-
W house, the Victorian house.
Oh, okay.
And it's 6 or 8 years past when I should have done the work. No one would ever approve it. And I've stolen money from every budget category I have in the last 30 days. I'm spending $34,000 on it.
Well, it needs it. Commissioners, would you be willing to allow Mr. Lacaz to present a formal application to
At a later
Mrs.
date.
Rock in her office? Pardon?
I said at a later date.
Sure,
Yeah.
we can just ratify it next month. Yeah,
can.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to make that motion?
Sure, I'll move to allow an application to be submitted by the city and work to commence, and then we can ratify that
Okay.
application at the next meeting.
And I'll get that to Chantrell sometime before the week's out.
Right, and
Okay.
she can contact us. I mean, we talk to her all the time, don't we, Ms. Rock?
Every day.
Yes, ma'am. So,
And I appreciate very much y'all allowing that or considering that. Frankly, I won't have the money June 1st, so one way or the other, I'm going to spend this money and fix the building. I'm just telling y'all. I appreciate it very much, okay?
thank you.
Thank y'all.
All right, is there any other new business to come before the commission?
Do we need to vote on that motion?
We do. All in favor of Mr. Donahoe's motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Good. Passed. Thank you. Ms. Rock, any other business?
No, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Mr. Donahoe has moved to adjourn. Dr. Owens?
Second.
Dr. Owens is seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay.